All right, we'll move on to the mailbag. And remember, if you become a member of the channel, you can leave a comment and we will read whatever you write, as long as it doesn't get us canceled. That's the one rule. So we'll move on to the mailbag here from Go Pack Go Infinity. He says, which teams do you think will be the most improved next year, and which teams will regress the most next season? So we've got this question a few times, and we've sort of given different answers each time. I'm actually going to go with a bit of my own unique take on this here. I think the Eagles are going to actually progress from that 1-6 ending of the season, where the record they had at the end of the year might be kind of similar, but the Philly team you saw to close last year, I don't think that's the Philly team you're going to see over the course of the regular season. I believe they'll be much improved. They'll be playing with a little bit more heart. I mean, they went out really just pathetically last year. Remember the Bucs game, just get blown out in your playoff game? Like that did not feel like the Philadelphia Eagles. And Ziggy, you said maybe it's a problem with the coaching. Maybe the culture's just crushed. Could happen. I don't expect it to happen. I think the Eagles progress.
Can I take the cop-out answer and say Atlanta? Or should I make another team?
Well, like Atlanta, Chicago.
You can say Atlanta.
Yeah. I mean, Atlanta's going to progress. It's got a very good quarterback.
Chicago, I think you could throw in there too.
Not only Caleb Williams.
Oh, yeah.
The best USC could be in the league is Sam Darnold.
I'll drink to that.
And then regress, I'd probably go Baltimore. Like, what were they last year? 14-3, right?
Baltimore?
Yeah.
13-4, 14-3.
They had the number one seed in the AFC. I believe 13 or 14 wins. Yeah, they're a very good team. I don't see it again.
How about you, Ziggy?
The team I've got to progress the most, I've talked about them a lot in this offseason. When we eventually get to our division for previews, I'm really going to put my foot down. The Arizona Cardinals. Yeah. This is a team that I've been saying all offseason. I could be an absolute fool for this, right? It is totally possible if the season starts, the Cardinals suck and everyone makes fun of me. But I just think Kyler Murray is a pretty good quarterback, and they keep adding talent around him, both on offense and on defense. I think this is going to be an OKC Thunder type situation where they keep getting draft capital, they keep adding players, and eventually it's going to click. Do I think they're going to be Super Bowl contenders next year? No. Do I think they're making the playoffs? Absolutely.
Okay, I like that. Any regression candidate come to mind?
We've talked about most of the regression candidates I have in the previous episode. The Ravens, Baltimore, I think, have to be number one.
From James Library, who is a member. Thank you, James. You always leave a comment. We appreciate that. He says, I love listening to you guys on my commutes to work. It's like talking with friends about sports. In honor of Mental Health Awareness Month in May, how are you guys doing? I'd say I'm doing pretty well right now. A lot of work with the NBA playoffs for my job producing right now. But once we get through that, should be smooth sailing, and we'll enjoy the summer doing this show. How about you, Ziggy? Doing well?
Yeah, chapter 1 is close to approved, so the dissertation is progressing. And that decides my mental state each and every day.
There you go. Ziggy is a daily case. Aren't we all? We're all. It's all a daily. It's all a daily case. Summer's coming around. It's nice outside. Hopefully everyone's doing.
I'm off by 3 p.m.
James says, sports wise, who is your least favorite sports talking head? I find I can't stand Mike Florio for so many reasons. Keep up the amazing work, guys. I'll let you guys answer this one. Even though James is a member, I'll hold back on this one a little bit, just because, in the industry, you never know.
You.
Yeah, me. No, me.
I'm gonna say this is any like sports commentator ever.
Anyone who drives you crazy. Yeah.
The commentators for the St. Louis Cardinals. I don't know their names, but I can't stand them. I'm also a Pirates fan, so whenever I'm watching on the local broadcast for St. Louis, they annoy me.
Any sports commentators? Doesn't have to be someone you hate. Just is there someone that you like find yourself disagreeing with?
I mean, Mike Florio consistently lies to his audience.
There it is.
The fact that he just consistently is dishonest makes him
there
number
it is.
one. Another, it's I could go. There's a lot of people who are consistently dishonest that I could criticize, but as you say, Paul, we're in the industry. We have to play nice with people like Pat McAfee.
Hey, I like McAfee, but yes.
Yeah, look, so what if he is consistently dishonest, right? Who cares? Not that I'm saying anything about Pat McAfee.
Ziggy is the one, out of any of us to get into this, Ziggy is the one that we just got to be careful for.
Look, you're allowed to lie, right? You're allowed to do things for entertainment value and mislead the people who watch you. It's not how we do things here, but, no one's going to sue you.
The best is Ben Stevens, Sports Radio.
Jack's former co-host. From that,
best is Zach Bloomquist, Paul Farrington show.
Oh yeah, Zach Bloomquist.
Well,
remember the Josh Allen sucks argument he made last year?
Yeah. Look, no one bats 100.
Yeah. from Matt Niels 8203, who is also a member.
No, a lot of people are 100. No one bets 1,000.
Matt always leaves comments for us. Matt says, "Hey guys, more of a lore question here. How did you guys meet and become friends? What's the origin of the Paul Farrington show?" Well, Jack and I met in second grade.
Mrs. Claus is.
We had mutual friends. Our old friend Mike connected me and Jack, and then we were in second, third grade class together. We've been friends since then. Ziggy and I met in college. We were in Carroll Hall at Notre Dame. Great dorm, and we just hit it off. We hung out the night of Disso in the common room and played some NFL Street, I believe, and just had a great time.
And before I had met Paul, I'd only seen one football game in my entire life, and that was the Falcons Patriots Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, the fact that Ziggy is sitting here right now talking sports, plus like 500 million or something if you go back to freshman year?
Yeah, I mean, I picked Notre Dame in spite of the fact that I thought all the sports team stuff is total garbage. But, you kind of have to go to the football games. I started going with you. You got me into sports radio and the broadcasting, and before you know it, here we are.
It was great.
So you're like a total nerd.
Like in philosophy wise, like Ziggy did not know sports at all. But I mean,
no, but like sports isn't that hard to learn. It's just like
Ziggy.
Philosophy.
Ziggy, back at Notre Dame, how good were you on the pong tables?
I have never played.
Did you let it? You're like, oh, really?
Really,
Ziggy.
Well, we had a ping pong. I mean, we had some pretty intense ping pong matches downstairs, like as a dorm.
You got to come for a summer darty.
But it's funny if you wanted the answer for how the show got going. Actually, it was just I saw a flyer for the radio station. I always thought it'd be fun to do a show. So started up with our buddy Will, and the placeholder as the name, we couldn't think of a name, just said Paul Farrington Show. And I was like, all right, like we got to think of a name. Will, he's like, how about we just keep it the Paul Farrington Show? It's like,
and you and I both he and I both voted keep it. You were adamantly opposed.
I was adamantly opposed, but we were like, all right, until we find a new one. Will misses the first show. So literally the second show, I'm like, Will can't come again. I asked Ziggy and our friend Max to come on. Ziggy and Max are just phenomenal at it. Like, again, Ziggy barely into sports at this point, but he's like, Paul, I'm a philosophy guy. I'm trained to argue. And I went, yeah, that makes complete sense because that's what we're doing. Just going back and forth on topics. And right there, I was like, all right, you have to do this with me every time. And he was
and
like, okay,
we did.
There it is.
I was a late add-on back when they moved back home. I remember one of your first shows, like early in college sometime. I was home for the weekend and I was driving back up to school on like a Monday morning, some weekday whenever you did the show. And I was listening. And I forget the take, but Ziggy says something so outrageous. And I was I drove to school and I was like, oh my gosh, this guy, you gotta be kidding me.
Here you are now.
But now I'm honored to be a fellow co-host.
From D Mollinator, he says, to each member of the show, what's the most likely Super Bowl matchup? What's the spiciest Super Bowl matchup? I mean, most likely, we all say it's a rematch, 49ers Chiefs. We all think they're the best two teams, right?
Most likely. Yeah, unfortunately, probably.
Yeah.
Spiciest, maybe like Lions Texans.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah. Lions Texans is fun. Ziggy, you got one? Spicy matchup?
Packers Dolphins.
Steelers Vikings.
I like that. I like the Bengals a lot. In terms of spicy matchups, I think if you have Packers Texans, I think that's a really fun matchup of young quarterbacks. Obviously, that would be horrible to see. You could always
Panthers Titans.
Packers Jets.
What did you just say, Ziggy?
Panthers Titans.
Panthers Titans. Yeah, there it is.
Packers Jets.
You could have Cowboys Chiefs would be a spicy Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That would be
two of the most annoying fan bases in the NFL.
Yeah, that would be wild.
What about Falcons Eagles? Or no, sorry, they're the NFC. Falcons Dolphins.
That would be a weird Super Bowl.
I guess it's not that spicy, yeah.
I mean, Kirk versus Tua. I like Kirk. I love Kirk. I'd be watching, but yeah, a Cowboys anyone would be pretty entertaining. From
Steelers Cowboys.
Sully 933 from Sully 9332. Can't read. Who's also a member. Thank you, Sully. He says, which is more likely, the Packers regress this year or the Vikings progress this year? Really can't read. Damn, I love this show with 3 exclamation points. It's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
Packers regress or Vikings progress, Ziggy?
So for the Packers to progress, they'd have to make the NFC Championship?
No. Packers regress or
So for the Packers to regress, they'd have to not make the divisional round, and for the Vikings to progress, they'd have to what?
Well, I'm not sure if I'd say the Packers regress if they don't. Like, let's see, they can even get to the divisional round. They could be a better team. Like, do you during the regular season, or do you think the Packers will be?
I don't think the Vikings win 7 games next year, so I think it's got to be Vikings regress.
Okay.
So it's that simple, I think. I think the Packers, I'm not sure how much better they're going to get, but I think they probably win more than 9 games, and I think they're probably a playoff threat. So I think they at least stay steady. The Vikings, I think, are just going to have, it's a transitional year for us.
Mm-hmm. So you think it's more likely
Vikings regress.
The Packers.
Okay, I totally bungled the question. You're right. The question is, do the Packers regress or do the Vikings progress? Okay, let me start this over.
I was sitting here. I'm trying to.
No, Paul's trying to connect the dots.
You go back and watch.
I refuse to understand the question.
I'm staring into space.
No, this is what I'm like during philosophy Q&As sometimes. I think given that the Packers would have to. It's more likely the Packers regress just because it's tough to make it as far as they did last year. That's difficult to do. The Vikings, all they really have to do, even if I think it's unlikely, they've got to win. They've got to be a wild card team or even just win like 8 games. I think it's likely the Packers progress and the Vikings regress, but it's more likely the Packers regress than the Vikings progress.
I might take a Vikings progress. I mean, I have a weird feeling about Sam Darnold. I really do. I don't know why, but I just do. Well, I think this offense is very explosive.
It is.
The Packers were honestly like those last 9 weeks were fantastic,
unbeatable. I mean, almost.
It's tough to be better. Maybe it's not, but I feel like it is. I'll go Minnesota to progress.
I think the Packers are going to be a better football team this year than last year, even with the fantastic finish. And I also think the Vikings will be as well. Where at the end of last year with Dobbs and Mullins and who was our Jaron Hall, like that was just a disaster quarterback. I think the Vikings will be record wise. I think you have to say the Packers regressing probably a little bit. What the Packers end with 10 wins on the season?
9 wins.
They're going to be double digits. So I'd say it's more likely that the Vikings progress than the Packers regress next season. I think the Packers will be a really good team, and the Vikings should be solid. Would it shock me if they had eight wins? No. So I'll go Vikings progress. From Eric Wallace, who here we go. He took advantage. Eric Wallace, who is also a member, he says, which team with a high ceiling do you think is most likely to be handicapped by their special teams? This is, I know Packers fans have had a lot of gripes with their special teams over the years, especially look at the field goal at the end of the season. Gosh, that was crazy when they missed that against San Francisco. You're going to the NFC Championship game if you hit that. The most likely team to be handicapped by their special teams. Is there any kickers? I
have no idea.
I'm trying to think if there's a kicker that I don't trust right now.
I'll be abstaining
in this situation here. Not Dallas, not Philly. I mean, it might be Green Bay again with their special teams. They always seem to have their issues with returns in certain moments and kickers. I would probably say the Packers right now.
I'll say the team with the worst special teams in the NFL last year was the Rams in terms of DVOA. I think the Rams will be a pretty good team this year. But here's the thing, right? Is when you're talking about this, I assume it's like which team is. When we're talking high ceiling that's capped by special teams, it's what team could be good, but the special teams keeps costing them. The Rams, I think, are going to play a lot of close games with a lot on Matthew Stafford and a lot on a young defense. That's the kind of thing where a bad special teams unit can just break you and cost you your chance at the playoffs. And I think that's what happens to the Rams next year.
Yeah, I'll have to think on that one some more too. But yeah, the Rams and Packers, watch out. Packers could be good. They just brought in our guy, Greg Joseph. So he's in there competing with Carlson right now. And I think that's an actual competition. They're trying to push Carlson, but Greg Joseph was solid. If you could build a coaching staff using only coaches from the NFC North, what would your staff look like? I'm assuming we'd probably all take Ben Johnson, right, as offensive coordinator. Right? Yeah. And then as head coach, who are you taking in this situation, Ziggy? I know we'll leave Jack out because he doesn't care.
Probably Matt.
I'm taking Dan Campbell because if I've already got Ben Johnson, I don't need the offensive minds behind LaFleur and O'Connell. Dan Campbell just seems like that guy. He's going to get your team ready to play, and he's going to consistently make the right decisions in game.
And then,
true. I think the biggest aspect of a coach is the ability to hype up the team. So I'd probably go Dan Campbell too.
you give it the in-game decision making from Dan Campbell.
Yeah, that's a huge edge. It's one of the biggest edges in the NFL.
Oh yeah, I forgot you love it. I forgot you love it. I mean, I love Dan Campbell. I think he's great. Sometimes I think he's a moron. Like
he won them a whole bunch of games.
I also think he cost them potentially the chance to go to the NFC Championship game.
You don't get there unless you make decisions he does. But
I would probably go. I know Flores would be my defensive coordinator. Flores, Ben Johnson, and then I think I'd take O'Connell. Actually, I think O'Connell's a really good head coach. Packers fans could be mad about that, but I think O'Connell's a smart guy. Team loves him. And last thing, here it is. Eric says, lastly, I want to hear Paul read this, so I will read it for you. Jordan Love is already in MVP talks in his second season, and I'm going to watch Sam Darnold chase ghosts. Go Pack, go! Membership perks from
for $5 a month. You too could get Paul to read crap like that once a week.
I mean, we'll say whatever you want.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than saying the GPG. From Brandon, and well done, Eric. From Brandon Rosendow, he says, over under 4.5 games, how long does it take to start JJ McCarthy? Well, we're going to have a video coming out on the Vikings schedule that will be released probably tomorrow that you'll see, but we'll get into the JJ McCarthy there. I'm going to say over 4.5 games, though. I think that
over also.
Yeah, that'll be the bye.
I'll tip the video a little bit. I think they're targeting the week after the bye to start him.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, hey, week 5 is the Darnold revenge game against the Jets. You can't miss that.
Miles Williams says, this is my go-to source for Packers news. LOL. Love watching the channel grow. Who do you think has the best receiving core in the NFC North? Then he adds Ziggy 2024. I mean, Ziggy, people are calling for it. So might need to make it happen. It's a great question because when you really lay it out, the NFC North receiving cores are all fantastic.
Vikings is one.
So wait, I'll read them out and then you tell me, Jack, who you like. So you got Jefferson, and I'll include tight ends as well. Jefferson, Patterson, Powell, and Hawkinson. That's the Vikings. The Bears, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Odunze, and Cole Kmet. I mean, that's loaded. Packers have Watson, Dobbs, Reed. They have Wicks as well, and Musgrave. And the Lions with Amon-Ra, Jameson Williams, Khalif Raymond, and Sam Laporta. So you got Vikings at 1?
Vikings 1 just because they have Justin Jefferson. The best receiver by a long shot in the NFL. I think Addison is very solid too. I like the Hawkinson addition. 2, I'd probably go with Green Bay. I think they have 4 kids who are all just as solid as the next. Someone left as a variety of options there. Then I'd go with Detroit.
Over Chicago?
Yeah, I think Chicago's quarterback's next.
No, we're just receiving group.
Well, no, I mean, Keenan Allen's an injury-prone guy.
Okay.
DJ Moore is very good.
I mean, Amon-Ra and Laporta is very good.
I think Amon-Ra is the best out of that whole bunch of the Detroit and Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's close, but I'd go Detroit and then Chicago.
How about you, Ziggy?
I don't know if I can say what I'm thinking without being accused of being a troll.
Please just do it.
I think the Packers we're taking it for next year. I think the Packers are going to have the best weapons in the NFC.
Honestly, might.
I hate to say it, but I think Christian Watson is finally going to be healthy. And I'm one of those guys who thinks when you have the ability to throw out 4 or 5 receivers there, that's so taxing on a defense. The Vikings have, if you're just looking at top 3, they've got it. But like, who else are we throwing out there? N'Keal Harry, Trent Sherfield. Like, you just don't have the ability like the Packers do. You can put 5 receivers out there.
Mm-hmm.
So they're number 1 just because they have so much flexibility. Number 2, of course, has to be the Vikings. Number 3, I have the Lions. Because of the top end strength. And I think Khalif Raymond is a pretty good player. The Lions are going to be happy to have him next year. And then 4, even though I think this is close to a top 10 room in the NFL, it might be a top 10 room in the NFL. I've got the Bears.
They all might be top 10, which is crazy. Mine's a little weird. There's probably a little bias in here, but Justin Jefferson is too good. Like he is just so damn good. And I think Hawkinson's the best tight end of the group when he's healthy. So I'm going to go Vikings hesitantly. Then I actually have the Bears. Keenan Allen was awesome last year. I know he's injury prone, but DJ Moore it's so underrated. Rome Odunze should be a great rookie. Then I have the Packers. Then I have the Lions at 4. Where again, yeah, Amon-Ra and Laporta is a crazy combo, but I'm a little more down on Jameson Williams, Khalif Raymond than I am the other 3s and 4s in the group. So I think it's super close all around. Let us know in the comment section who you like more. Okay, we'll continue on with the mailbag here. Got a handful of questions left from Sammy50599. Thank you, Sammy. You always leave a comment. He says, I see a lot of people expecting the NFC North to be really good this year. I think what a lot of people are missing is that half the teams have rookie quarterbacks and CJ Stroud stories don't happen very often. Let's say we give each team in the North a year with their current rosters. If these teams hit their ceilings, what do you expect the division rankings to be? I mean, the ceilings in the NFC North are pretty high.
Hit their ceilings.
These are high ceilings in the NFC North.
Green Bay's one.
Green Bay?
Yep.
Okay.
Green Bay's definitely number one. Detroit, Chicago, Minnesota.
I think I would agree with you on ceilings for this upcoming season.
If the teams hit their ceilings, the absolute best they can be this season, the Bears win the division.
No.
Caleb Williams has the potential to be a genuinely special quarterback and dominate the quarterbacks in that division. I mean, the way Patrick Mahomes dominates Justin Herbert is what he could do to Jordan Love, even next year.
Like, how much better do you think he'll be than like CJ Stroud was at his ceiling?
If he hits his ceiling,
it's not that much better.
But CJ Stroud would have owned Jordan Love last year.
Stroud was awesome.
CJ Stroud would have, if you were taking the totality of the season, CJ Stroud would have owned Jordan Love last year.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, do you think rookie Caleb Williams?
I think he could be a little better than CJ Stroud. Yeah.
But I think his ceiling is higher. The ceiling again.
Well, I still think
you also have to keep in mind this Bears defense is also they have a lot of strong pieces on it. If this defense hits the ceiling, it's the best defense in the NFC North too. So I think if they hit their ceiling, I think it's unlikely. They finish 1, Packers 2, Lions 3, Vikings 4.
I'm talking ceiling. You got Green Bay, Detroit, like 13 wins.
What's the McCarthy ceiling? That's what I want to know. What's the McCarthy ceiling?
I just don't see it with McCarthy next year.
Okay. Because the Vikings are a very talented team too. I know we have them at 4.
I thought
the Vikings defense is clearly the worst in the division. That the ceiling there is no ceiling. That's what holds us back.
There is no ceiling.
No, the Vikings are the worst ceiling of the 4.
Ziggy, you bring up a good point. The Bears could actually be one on that. But I would probably go maybe, we hit their ceiling. Those are 3 really good teams at the top. I think the Vikings actually, if Darnold's good, the Vikings should be a very competitive team as well. I would probably put it at Green Bay at 1 for now, just on the ceiling for next year. I think Love would be close to Caleb, like if they hit their ceilings. Then probably, I'll probably still put Detroit at 2, then Chicago 3, Vikings 4. But I think you bring up a great point. Another question from D Mullen there. He says, which team in each division is most likely to play spoiler and win the division or knock out a serious contender out of the playoffs? I'll answer for Ziggy real quick. He thinks the Cardinals could be a really good team and play spoiler season. Yeah, there it is right there. Playing spoiler, the Steelers could definitely play spoiler, some of the AFC North teams, where I don't necessarily think Pittsburgh's going to be a Super Bowl contender. But they'll be good enough where, if the Ravens or the Bengals are chasing a 1 seed, I can see them, later in the season, they have all those division games. I can see the Steelers messing up some plans of their division rivals.
Oh, going to Pittsburgh, it's no easy task.
No, but even taking Pittsburgh on the road in your home building.
Right. No, task. Pittsburgh is no easy task. That's my answer too. I say Pittsburgh, my boy's a spoiler.
Let's see here. From D.D. Jenkins, 5409. He says, if Drake May is bad, is there a chance Joe Milton starts? If so, how many games do you think the Patriots will wait before benching him? No, there's no world in where Milton is playing next season in front of Drake May. Drake May, once he takes over for Brissett, will be the quarterback, barring injury.
Joe Milton is not ready to play quarterback in the NFL and probably never will be. But you should look up the highlights from him at OTAs. He's throwing balls that look like they're computer generated. They go so far.
I think Milton's just as good as May.
Don't do this, Jack. Don't do this.
What do you mean?
We've been having a great show.
He was a 10 plus.
You've kept things under control. Don't do this.
He was a 10 plus winner in the SEC. 10 plus game winner in the SEC.
I'll let you have it, Ziggy, if you
Jack, go watch some UNC games, please, dude. This is unbearable.
UNC,
if you think Joe
UNC
Milton
stinks.
If you think Joe Milton and Drake May were remotely the same quarterback,
Andrew Milton's a better arm.
Well, yeah, that's about it.
He's a stronger arm. Yeah, sure.
That's important to me in the NFL.
Oh, God. All right. 3 questions left here from David Kurst.
Ziggy.
From David Kurst, he says, if you could create an all-time NFC North team, who would you pick for the positions? Here's mine for you. At quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. Running back, Barry Sanders, Walter Payton, and AP. You know, I think here in this situation, we'll just pick one. Wide receiver is Randy Moss, Calvin Johnson, Devontae Adams, Chris Carter, and Sterling Sharp. At tight end, Mike Ditka, Greg Olsen, and TJ Hawkinson. Rodgers is probably the quarterback. It's Rodgers or Fran Tarkington. You're going to have, or Favre, or Bart Starr if you really want to go back. So I'll go Rodgers as well. Would you guys quarterback?
Yeah, I'd go Rodgers too.
Yeah.
And then running back, man, it's hard for me not to pick Peterson because he's my guy, but I will trust my dad because he always says Barry Sanders is the best running back he's ever seen. I know people love Ziggy's going to say Walter Payton.
People forget about Gale Sayers, man. People forget about him.
People do.
Those 3, Walter Payton, Barry Sanders, Gale Sayers, are the only acceptable running backs. Adrian Peterson doesn't belong.
Oh, Peterson was awesome, Ziggy.
Peterson's a Hall of Fame running back. He doesn't belong with those 3.
I'm going to go Aaron Rodgers. Then I'm going to go Adrian Peterson.
I'm very upset about that, Ziggy. Adrian Peterson in his prime.
He's a Hall of Fame running back.
Adrian Peterson.
I mean, he was like the best I've ever seen.
Prime Adrian Peterson is probably the best football player I've ever seen.
He's probably the 6th best running back in NFL history.
It's crazy that the NFC North has had, 3 or 4?
No, the NFC North has had almost every all-time great running back. That's what's unfortunate, right? There in almost any other division, Adrian Peterson's number 1 or number 2.
Yeah, no, I have no problem.
Even Herschel Walker, I mean, he played in the NFC North. Almost every all-time great running back has stopped in the NFC North at some point.
You got receivers, Jack? It looked like you were ready to go.
Yeah, I got Aaron Rodgers, AP.
Give me 3 receivers.
Okay, my backup running back is Matt Forte.
Yeah.
And then my receivers, I go Randy Moss, Calvin Johnson, Jordy Nelson.
That's just pissed me off, yeah.
Tight end, I'd go probably Greg Olsen.
Ditka has to be the tight end, right? I'm trying to think if there's anyone else.
Can't believe no one's mentioning Don Hudson for the wide receivers.
Steve Jordan was really good for the Vikings. Wait, Don Hudson? All right, come on. So you're not taking Don Hudson.
Don Hudson, I mean, if you look at how people talked about him back in the day, one of the best receivers. Packers fans can come in here.
Okay, what receivers are you taking? Who are your 3? You get 3.
I'm taking Moss. I'm taking Megatron. I'm taking Don Hudson.
I'm taking Moss, Megatron, and Chris Carter. That's mine. And then Ditka would be the tight end. This is a great question.
Do you understand, like, Don Hudson, for about 60 years after he played, was regarded as the best player in NFL history?
Ziggy.
Yeah, I just want to take him over Randy Moss.
Ziggy.
Or Chris Carter.
Ziggy.
What?
How big is your Ditka?
There we go. 2 questions left from Squillyham 1. He says,
that's my mail, I'm a member. That's my you got to answer it. That's my I'm a member question.
He says, everyone is talking about how Dak is going to get paid. However, I think it's a possibility that he doesn't get an extension this year. Do you think the Cowboys would or should move on from Dak after this offseason? I don't think they should.
No, I honestly think Dak's really good.
They can't move on from Dak. Who's replacing him?
Yeah, like who's
Trey Lance?
Yeah, who are you going to use to replace him?
And the team's ready to win right now. At the end of the day, we were going to talk about the Dolphins today. Dolphins have a team that's ready to win. You don't usually get that. Like, you don't usually have teams that are that good outside the quarterback position ready to go. And the Cowboys are. All it takes for them is getting over the playoff hump, whatever it might be that's in their way come January football. But Dak Prescott was what we said at the top of the show, number 2 in MVP voting last year. They got to get that deal done. But it's just going to keep getting more expensive for him. He will be a Cowboy, though. I know people are talking. I saw Nick Wright said the Giants. He'll be a Cowboy. Last question from Merle. A great way to end it with Merle.
This answer is easy.
But did you read Mercury Road's question?
No, I'm sorry. What did he say?
This is a member. Are you as surprised as I am that the Vikings didn't go all in and pursue Jim Harbaugh in the offseason? Before they ended up at quarterback, he would have been a tremendous upgrade at the position.
Oh, and yeah, Ziggy, let me know because I put this down, so this must have been added.
So this was about an hour ago. So it was right after we started recording, but I want to get the last member question in there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Vikings went after Jim Harbaugh 2 years ago.
Well, but we didn't want him.
No, yeah,
we turned him down.
We said no to Jim Harbaugh. Do I think that might be a mistake in hindsight? Like it might wind up being one. Yeah, but I think right now they're very pleased with Kevin O'Connell. And
I'm not convinced that Jim Harbaugh is the best guy to coach JJ McCarthy just because he was his college coach. They get along well and he got good results out of McCarthy. But when you're talking about one of the best offensive minds in the NFL, like no one would doubt that Kyle Shanahan's a better coach for JJ McCarthy. And I think that Kevin O'Connell is a very, very good coach.
Dude, I was pumped when the rumors were flying around about Jim Harbaugh going and interviewing with the Vikings. He had the full day interview. I thought it was a done deal. Jim thought it was a done deal. And it was disappointing when we didn't hire him because I barely knew who Kevin O'Connell was. But I'm happy.
Also, Ziggy Wolf has done a good job. Like the Vikings ownership has done a good job picking coaches.
If you could right now, would you do it?
No.
I don't think I would either.
O'Connell's proven that he's the guy for this team. I really believe it.
Last question from Merle. He says, which NFL player would you most like to see on The Bachelor? Tyler,
there's one answer.
Jay comments. Give me socially awkward Danny Dimes. That would be pretty funny.
That's a good answer. There's one answer.
What is it?
Juju.
Juju Smith-Schuster?
Oh,
God. I would not want to watch Juju.
Yes, you would. That would be unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't want to see Juju.
Why? That would be so funny.
I think Juju's funny, but I'm looking like I think Daniel Jones might be funny. No, Juju would be funny.
Juju funny than Daniel Jones.
I think getting Travis Kelce on The Bachelor while he's dating Taylor Swift would be hilarious.
I mean, Travis Kelce would be phenomenal. That was the first person that I thought of it as well, even though he's dating Taylor Swift. Who else are some good Bachelor candidates?
Randy Moss.
Max Crosby.
Who did you
Bill Belichick?
I mean, Rodgers would just be absurd.
There's a Golden Bachelor that Belichick can go on.
Bill Belichick on the Golden Bachelor. Final answer.
There it is. Oh my God.
Could you like Bill Belichick just sitting there with his face?
Honestly, I'd love to see Tom Brady in the back.
And they're interviewing him. He's just like, well, it was a really nice date. And she, I got her roses and she looked really pretty. I think there might be a second one.
We're on to Ashley.
Yeah, we're on to
she was super nice.
How'd the day with Karen go? We're on to Ashley.
She was super nice, but I had to get rid of her.
That'd be so good. All right, Bill Belichick on the Golden Bachelor. That's what we want.
I'd like to see Brady on the Bachelor too.
I mean, what? It'd be perfect.
Yeah,
it'd be the perfect season. All right, let's wrap it up there.